Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the MarTech RoundUp. My name is Michael Tucker. I'm founder of Conversion Store and a Marketo champion and a Marketo subject matter expert. I've been using the platform for over 7 years now, 6 years now, and we really want to be able to kind of share and use this venue to be able to kind of share information about all of the different things that are happening inside of the MarTech space at this point in time. There's a lot of different ways to be able to learn. And so we want to dive in and be able to make something that's really quick and able for you, the busy executive, to be able to learn all about marketing, technology, and marketing automation in a very quick, easy to use format that helps you get on with your busy day and all the other things that you have to do. So hence we've created this format. And we'll be looking at a couple of different things throughout the course of these different episodes. We're going to do them once a month. We were doing these back in 2020, if you remember, and it was all about being able to talk about Marketo user groups back then. But there's so much more than Marketo user groups. There's American Marketing Association, there's Digital Summit, there's Pavilion, there's other communities that are out there that offer a lot of different ways for you to be able to learn all about marketing in this digital landscape that we exist in now. So we're going to be able to talk about four different things today. We'll talk about the roundup at 2:30. After this, we'll do a learning lounge, which is an open forum where you can ask any questions that you want to about Marketo, and it's pure learning. So everybody else will be here to be able to help you to learn as well. We'll talk a little bit about Adobe Summit and live sessions. We'll talk a little bit about virtual sessions and things that you can log into from your own computer. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about in-person sessions and some podcasts, different ways you can learn from different people just by listening in your car. Some of our questions, we'll talk a little bit about details around that. And all of this you can find at marketominutes.com, which is one website that we've built that allows you to be able to see all of the different details of what's happening inside of the marketing technology landscape. So let's just take a little bit of a guide here, and we'll talk about some of the upcoming events that we're seeing right now. First, we'll talk about virtual events. This afternoon at 5 o'clock, the Raleigh Durham Mug is going to be having an open forum. Great spot to meet, wonderful groups where people can just meet and interact with each other and ask any questions that you want. It's really laid back. A lot of us have been in the Marketo landscape for a long time, so it's a great place to be able to learn that way. The American Marketing Association is partnering with Cvent, which is a really great event marketing platform, on March the 7th. And they'll be talking all about different event strategies that you can build out in their software. And then finally, the Phoenix Marketo user group on March the 10th is going to be leading a discussion about content orchestration. And that's at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So just understand that the time zones change a little bit because it's based out of Arizona. But a great place to be able to learn about all of the different ways to be able to handle different types of content and make all of those work interactively within each other, to be able to give you the best experience possible for your different audience members that you're communicating to in your marketing communications plan. In-person events. Hey, in-person events are coming back now, and people are spending more time actually getting together face to face and being able to talk a little bit about all of the different events that you'll be able to see from an in-person perspective, basically. So you can get together with people. I mean, obviously social distance, but great place to be able to kind of connect. So a couple of big ones. The conference season is getting started. The B2B exchange is happening on February the 27th, and this is in Scottsdale, Arizona. I went to one about a year and a half ago in the Boston area. It was really interesting to be able to see some of the different vendors talking about B2B technologies and experiences there. Um, and uh, and 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 then of course Adobe Summit is a really large scale event that's happening in Las Vegas. Now, one thing to kind of understand about this is different than for those of you who attended Marketo Summit. This is all about Adobe Experience Cloud, and so it's been about 3 years since we've had one of these. But but understand that the broader technology. It's all of the different softwares that exist inside of the Adobe Experience Cloud, and so understand that if unless you own all of those different softwares or many of those different softwares, you're not necessarily you're going to get a fraction of the content basically for your specific technology that you're using, but still really valuable. Still a lot of people that attend those, and a lot of vendors and exhibitors that attend those. It is on the higher side of things. So if you are a smaller firm that's using Marketo or using Adobe Experience Cloud, you really want to keep an eye out on your budgets and kind of what that means now with the additional cost of flights and the additional cost of hotels and travel. And if you can't make it to that, one thing that I want to be able to share with you is that we're going to be able to start offering different types of live streaming basically during that event. And I recognize that there's a lot of people that are in the international audience that live outside of North America, and just heading to Las Vegas to be able to go to a 3-day conference is a lot of money for you folks to be able to pony up. And also, frankly, the amount of time that it takes to travel there is a lot. So, in lieu of that, we're going to be announcing probably next week that we'll be doing some live streaming sessions. If you would like me, I will be there. I'm going to be at Summit during that period of time. If you have questions about things that you want to be able to answer or ask for this, for the summit, vendors that you want to talk to, presentations that you want to understand a little bit more and speak with maybe some of the speakers. See, there's a lot of pre-recorded content that you'll see that's available on the Adobe website that happens during that period of time, but it's not really intimate and interactive, and it's sort of one of those things where you put up questions into a chat room and hope and pray that they're going to be able to ask the questions that you asked, that you answer the questions that you asked. If that doesn't really fit with the style of learning that you're used to, let me know. I'd be happy to be there. We're going to be talking to a bunch of different people from that conference, and sharing those experiences live with you, just so that you get a better understanding of what the feeling is like at attending that conference. And definitely something that it'd be great if you could, if you have the money to be able to spend, it'd be good to be able to go and kind of learn about those resources. But that's really becoming less and less the case, especially in 2023 with all of the economics of how this year is kind of starting to pan out. And the last piece on that, on this too, is the CMO Summit for 2023. This is an event that the Pavilion community is putting on March the 23rd out of San Francisco. Really interesting to kind of see with this is that it's only one day, and it's really designed for CMOs. So if you are not quite at the CMO level, you don't have board responsibility for your marketing program. This is really what the crowd that's designed for. Now, Pavilion does a lot of other different courses. They have a really interesting Pavilion University that I've been really taking advantage of the past little bit as a relatively new member in that community, and a lot of really great resources that they have specifically in this space, basically for CMOs to be able to help run your business. If you are not, one of the other things that is not listed on this slide but will be coming up, the American Marketing Association is doing their collegiate conference at the end of March in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States here. And that's a great spot if you are in college, or if you're just looking to start your marketing career. Highly recommend you join the American Marketing Association. They've got discounted rates for college level students. They've got really great chapters throughout the country, so it's likely if you live in a relatively large city in the United States, that they have a chapter near you, or you could also start one, and be able to help to gather some of the other marketers that are in your space. So really important to kind of see all of the different things that are happening basically in that space particularly. And there are other events. So you'll see these again if you head into our calendar here. You can see we have all of these listed here. So this is the content orchestration. This is the MarTech conference is happening on the 28th, so not too far after that. And the CMO Summit, for example, will have all of the information that'll be here, and we'll have an area where you can click to be able to go and see the details of that event and kind of go in and follow all of those links to be able to understand all of the different marketing events that are happening that help you to be a better marketer to continue to grow and learn and develop. And just a couple other things that are that's coming into play here. Um, all right. So if we look at some of the different podcasts that are coming up this month, you see some really interesting ones that in terms of new and emerging technologies that are coming up. One of the podcasts that I subscribe to, I find really interesting, is Humans of MarTech, and this is a guide to data models and date and dynamic dashboards for marketers. Is an episode that they did recently over the past couple of weeks. Really. One of the things that I learned in Pavilion University, is a point that they really made that I thought was really interesting was, at the end of the day, especially now with where we are in the economy in 2023, and there's a lot of corporate leadership and financial leadership that's really examining and dare I say scrutinizing, if that's the right word, the financial efficiency of how money is being spent, and that's regardless of everything, right? A lot of the layoffs that we're seeing, a lot of the economic shifts that we're seeing are just companies realigning to the shifting marketplace and making sure, is the money that we're investing in marketing, in sales, in operations, in IT, and all of the other aspects of your business, is that performing properly to make sure that we have enough cash flow in order to be able to survive as a business? And I think everybody's asking themselves this question right now, just with uncertainties about how the market's going to expand and how different consumers are going to respond back to interest rate changes, and trying to be able to create an economic slowdown intentionally to stop inflation. So having a really good data model, having a really good dashboard to be able to prove to your leadership, okay, I ran all of these marketing programs. They created a lot of different buzz and a lot of different engagement. But at the end of the day, here are the actual quantitative measurements that we are showing that explain everything that is going on in the space. So really interesting there. Now I see a question that we have coming up here in one of the chats. Give me one moment here. Let me just pull this up for a second here. Carrie Kahn, can you recommend any in-person events on the East Coast? Thank you so much, Corey, for answering that question. I hope we pronounced your name correctly there. So in East Coast events, I do know Pavilion does a number of these different executive dinners that happen throughout the East Coast. I think they just did an Atlanta one recently. I do. Let me just take a look here again at the calendar, and we can see all of the different events that we have coming up East Coast wise. I know there's some ones later in the year in April in Washington, D.C. There's doing a digital summit. Digital summits are really your best bet, in my opinion, in a lot of ways for a lot of regional marketing in person knowledge. They're 2 days usually. They have 3 conference rooms that are in them. And I really like them a lot. So Phoenix is West Coast. Some of the Marketo user groups are starting to go in person. So some of those are happening, I think, in the central area. But let's take a look at this digital summit in Washington, D.C., for example, right? So these are really good ones to be able to go to. And let me see, can I get into the event itself? Oh, I see. Okay, because we've got the actual address that's here, but you can usually say digital summit. com, and it'll give you all the information for all of the different upcoming conferences that you can go to. So really great space to be able to kind of understand some of the different ones that are coming up, and they're just starting to announce those. So if you go to Washington D.C., you can see inside of those some of the people that speak. Seth Godin often comes to these and speaks. Really great from that side of things, but you'll see some of the other people: Zillow, Southwest Airlines, QuickBooks, Amazon. Really like Michael Barber's session. Big shout out to Michael Barber. Hi. He is a former Marketo champion as well. Has really great sessions that cover everything about email marketing. If you ever want to invest 2 hours in email marketing, I and see what's happening this year in email marketing, Michael Barber is your guy. I really enjoy his sessions a lot. Can't recommend them high enough. Recommend them high enough. So those are really good ones to be able to go to. Hope that answered your question. And so just a couple of other ones too in terms of looking at podcasts. Again, if they don't have events that are happening in the East Coast around you, go to one of these podcasts, one of these virtual events. The Digital Marketing Podcast. Okay, so Google Analytics is really kind of the bellwether for how most of us learn to keep track of the engagement on our websites as things went cloud based. So back in the old days, the really old days, you used to do web tracking files, log tracking files, and be able to pull all of your tracking data out of your web server and then try and make sense out of it. And then all of these cloud based systems came to play, and Google Analytics bought one of them called Urchin, and it's become incredibly popular now as things are shifting to the next generation of web content, web technologies. They're upgrading analytics, and everybody needs to upgrade their analytics platform. So this is a good time to be able to look and see, because you have to by, I think it's June or July this year. It's this summer, upgrading your analytics platform. Are there alternatives that I should be looking at? I think some of the larger corporations use things like Omniture and other platforms. Adobe has an analytics suite, so that's worth looking at. And then a lot of people are doing business intelligence software to be able to help for things like your CRM and other areas of your MarTech stack. And then the question comes into play is, well, how does that relate to your web traffic and your web analytics and some of the data that's happening there now that those technologies are cross-secting to each other? So Digital Marketing Podcast is a good one. We'll put links to all of these, by the way, inside of a blog post on the Marketo Minutes website. So keep an eye out for that a little later on this week, and reach out to me on LinkedIn if that's something that you're interested in seeing, and I'll make sure I get you added into the list so that you receive a notification of that. The MarTech podcast. I love the MarTech podcast. It's on every day, literally daily. And so I listen to it almost daily. The guy who hosts it, Ben Shapiro, is a really knowledgeable guy. I've never met the guy, I don't really know him, but he has been really knowledgeable. All of his questions are very thoughtful. Sometimes you get in these questions, and the host will kind of say, "Well, that's exactly what I was thinking," and you're kind of like, "Well, it was exactly what you're thinking every single point." Ben's not one of those people. Ben has these very insightful questions, and they really it really helps to kind of interact and engage with some of the speakers and the content that they're providing. So one of the series that came up this week, and also the other thing is that they're part of the HubSpot podcast network. So Marketo guy talking about HubSpot. I know, kind of crazy, but you've got to give them credit. That HubSpot podcast network is pretty impressive, and there are a lot of interesting podcasts that are all tied into the same type of marketing automation, demand gen marketing, inbound marketing that we've all play in the same environment for years and years and years. So really worth listening to that. And they're talking about, does thought leadership still work? Which is an interesting question, because all of the different ways that that content is being created and generated now, really kind of begs the question: me being on this live stream, does that still matter, or are we all going to be able to get information from AI and Chat GPT, and is that a faster way to be able to consume rather than waiting for me as a thought leader, as an example, right? And I know there's other topics that get touched on within that, so it's worth listening to and really understanding a little bit better. Now, I bring that up as a segue, really, to be able to understand AI is starting to have more of an impact on how we interact and engage with different members of our audience as marketers. And this Marketing Smarts podcast, which is part of the Marketing Profs community, which is another group that I belong to, and it's if you ever hear the name Ann Handley, that's her community, and they have a podcast as well too. So that's something that's really they have really interesting content from different people that are presenting. It's not just um, one person that's always kind of a presenter there. They have a revolving cast of characters that basically come and bring in different topics. So they're looking at a B2B marketing deep dive on AI foundations, and I'm really curious about this one. And part of it is because AI is so new. Do we really know what the implications are at the end of the day on some of the marketing tactics that we want to take with AI? Not really, because it's so new. I mean, we're talking about less than 6 months here, so do we know whether they're effective or not? If you have a very large consideration set, or a very large sales cycle involved in your product, you might not have a direct answer for this for, I don't know, 6 months, a year. So it's worth kind of taking a look, though, at some of the thinking behind how you might be able to use AI in different ways. And we're not just talking about Chat GPT. I mean, that's the one that has all the publicity these days, but there are a lot of other ways to be able to do this as well too. Kind of worth checking out on that. Now, all of these and more are going to be included in the Marketo Minutes blog post, and we will be publishing those. So people are watching this on LinkedIn streaming, on the Marketo Virtual YouTube User Group YouTube channel. So thank you for that, and also on the Conversion Store Facebook page, which is Conversion Store is our consultancy, is my consultancy. We work on Marketo instances for all sorts of different companies. Anything, if you are a marketing leader, have a challenge with your Marketo instance, shoot me a line. I'd be happy to talk to you a little bit about what's going on and see if we'd be able to help you. So if you are on one of the other platforms on LinkedIn, we will be starting out some new content that'll be on there as well too. So you'll see a newsletter that's there. We've got a couple of different showcase pages that are available to be able to see, and highly recommend if you would connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, it's Michael Tucker, founder of Conversion Store. And now, we're at the kind of the end of the point here. This is specifically designed to be very brief for these roundups. What we're doing next, I'm going to end the stream here. We're going to shift over to Zoom. And once a month, we have these private Zoom meetings, and they're we usually get somewhere between 50 to 75 people that'll register, and then the attendance is a little different, right? But it's usually about, let's say, a dozen to 2 dozen different people that are Marketo leaders, that are marketing leaders inside of their companies, that are looking to be able to get some more help from Marketo about Marketo. And rather than kind of scrolling through Slack message after Slack message, and hopefully your Slack message isn't deleted by the time you get the answers that you're looking for, we're trying to basically do this in a real time environment, where you get information and you get to interact and get information exactly from the people that you're working with on this. So some questions that have already come up, we usually ask for these in advance. Some people have asked a little bit about GDPR compliance. When you're building out your preference center, how do you make sure that that matches with GDPR compliance? Multi-touch attribution. So a couple of questions there about U-shaped multi-touch attribution, and being able to build that into your Marketo instance. And then engagement programs, but specifically about A/B testing. And A/B testing, just so you know, is in Marketo is called more champion challenger testing. So we'll get into some more information about that. I'm going to discontinue the stream here in a moment. You should have a link in your in the area of your whatever venue you're using to be able to watch this stream right now. You should have a link to the Zoom room to register to be able to join that. I will send out some email notifications to that shortly. If you do not, just coming back to the Marketo Minutes website, you'll see a button here on the top, third from the left, excuse me, visit the Learning Lounge, and you'll see a landing page here that talks a little bit about how this works. And this is where you can put your question into and press search, send, and you will get the actual information to be able to register and join the group on email momentarily after you do that. So we're going to jump over to that now. We'll be there for about an hour. So if you are there, if you're watching this live, just jump in and you'll see us there. If you missed us, so sorry about that. Again, we'll put in a recap and some information in written format and send that out on email as a follow up afterwards. But you can go ahead and sign up, and we'll send you the follow up, and then we'll also send you an invitation for next month when we do this again too, so that you can catch it at that point in time. So really hope that's helpful. Michael Tucker signing off now for the MarTech Roundup, and looking forward to seeing you again next month or in person at Adobe Summit.